Hi there, and good evening, and welcome to the Jim Bohannon Show from Westwood One Radio. We're at 1-866-50-JIMBO, 1-866-505-4626, although we'll be taking calls about half an hour from now. Online, you'll find us at JimBohannonShow.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Jimbo Talks. Thank you for joining us tonight for a very special edition of the Jim Bohannon Show, the Friday, October the 14th version, which is the last night I'm holding this, but the show itself, well, it must go on. That's what they say about showbiz, and so we are very delighted to spend the first portion of the program tonight introducing you to the person who will be handling the hosting chores here starting Monday, October the 17th, a man you've already heard on a number of occasions earlier in the year, filling in for me, Rich Valdes. Good evening, Rich.
Good evening, Jimbo. It's an honor and a pleasure to be on with you, sir. Well,
thank you very much. You all set to go?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be. You know, it's funny. I heard an interview that you did with Michael Harrison, and you mentioned how when you took over for Larry King, that, you know, you felt like, hey, is anybody going to like me because they like King, and these are big shoes to fill. So I feel very similar to that sentiment.
Well, you, of course, have a track record now. People have heard you, and they know that, in fact, you've got the goods. You have the talent, and you have the ability to do a superb job. Tell us a little bit about yourself. A lot of people out there may have heard you, but they don't really know that much about Rich Valdes.
Somebody had sent somebody an email with a job posting for a producer opportunity on the Mark Levin show. And I happened to have listened to Levin for many years when I worked in Trenton, and it was, you know, on at the time I was driving home. So I connected with them. We all liked each other. They happened to be looking for somebody that worked in media or had some media background, but they didn't want a radio person to produce the live call-in portion and do the call screening because they felt that they didn't have a grasp on politics if they were from radio. That was the philosophy. And I said, well, I'm not from radio, but I do like radio. And I worked there for a while, and before too long, we were housed out of WABC at the time in New York City. Some folks there said, you should have a podcast. I said, I don't even know what a podcast is. What is a podcast? And they explained it to me, and I said, all right, hey, listen, you help me, and I'll do it. And it just so happened to be that a wonderful guy named Chris Libertini, he was the imaging guy and the director of production for the Howard Stern show, and he had just come to WABC a short while earlier. And he said, you know, I'll help you out with some imaging. We'll create a show idea for you. You make a demo. They brought me over to the people at Cumulus for podcasts. They said, yeah, let's give it a shot. I started that show. It went well. And before I knew it, they were saying, hey, do you think you could do a fill-in because so-and-so is going to be out for this holiday or that holiday? And I said, are you kidding me? You know, I didn't tell them out loud. But I was like, I would do this stuff for free. I love it. So I did, and I adore radio, in particular talk radio, in particular some of the greats, yourself included, that you know have spent decades on the air. And I'm talking about Bob Grant, who was local in my area. Just these great personalities that really brought so much to the table when it came to radio. And I was bit by the bug, and I did as much fill-in work as I could until I got my own show on WABC, and that went well, and then I signed a new deal with a different network, and I ended up on WPHT in Philly, another 50,000-watt station in a top market. And I loved the business. I loved the industry. I loved the callers, and I just love this craft.
In terms of just looking out over the talk radio landscape, any people you've considered as kind of role models over the years? You've mentioned a few people, Levin and Batchelor and a few others, but there are many who have had stellar careers. Bob Grant, you mentioned, for example, very well known in New York, not that well known nationwide, but a spectacular old curmudgeon while he was still with us.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, I tend to be, my personality is one that's rather jovial, and I'm kind of easygoing. But, you know, when you do talk radio in New York, there's a lot of pushback. even the people that agree with you, they want to fight you. So you develop a thick skin very, very quickly. And that's part of what I love about the show is that I really do enjoy a conversation where we can disagree. I enjoy exploring different topics because I'm genuinely, again, I was a barber, so I enjoy different conversation from different places. And what I really love is just old school talk shows on the radio. I've listened to hours upon hours upon hours of the old Larry King radio show, your predecessor. And it's just, to me, it's a real gift that he had, that it was very natural for him to spark up a cigarette and just have a conversation with people, and that was entertaining. But I think so much went into it, and perhaps for him it was second nature. But I look at so much of that, and the way you do it also, I think you make something that's rather challenging, look very effortless, and you make it look easy. And that's the mark of somebody who knows what they're doing. And I look at everybody in that landscape, and I try to learn from them, and I look at how they can weave in from a general interest topic, let's say reacting to a Dear Abby article, to going into what's the latest coming out of the Supreme Court today, to, taking objectionable calls. And balancing it in the best way that I can.
How do you envision the program once you're on Monday for good?
Well, I'm going to put my best foot forward, and thankfully I've had the opportunity and the privilege to have filled in over the summer, and I got to know some of the regular callers and have a feeling for the Jim Bohannon show. And as we move into this new direction, I don't think it's going to be that new or that different. It might be a different voice, but I think the principles that you've laid out in this show are the right ones to have a principled conversation, and whether my views may be more conservative than others, and we may have debate, but ultimately, like you said, this is about the listeners, and I want to give them the best stimulating talk, the best conversation that we could possibly give them, so that they really enjoy the program and get something out of it.
All right. Rich Valdes, who again will be the host of this program as of Monday night, October the 17th. And he'll do a fine job, and I know you'll enjoy listening to him.